So, good. And then if I remember, and if I don't remember, remind me. We'll do a. I have some wine topic that I go over, and just to break the ice. But we're going to do one big thing tonight. First of all, is we're going to welcome a longtime member of our tasting group who just showed up tonight, Mr. Steve Lugal. Now, I'll tell you the quick story. He came into our tasting group, our classes, how many years ago now? That you and Jess came in? 15 years. And he and his wife were big, avid members of the tasting group. And sadly, his wife has passed. And so, sorry about that, Steve. Of course, we remember her well. And he moved to Oregon. And now, when I got here, half hour, 40 minutes ago, who walks in the door and greeted me was Steve. So, welcome back. Welcome back. And so that's number one. Number two is I'm just curious. This only take about 5 minutes we'll do as a group, because I took my first trip since COVID this year. So I'm curious, how many people have traveled this year anytime? Steve went to Italy. You guys went somewhere? Where'd you guys go? England. Where'd you go?
Well, France, Germany, Switzerland.
Oh, that's all?
Yeah. all one trip.
Now, Jonathan, you had told me last time you were going somewhere, right?
We were in Italy and France.
Italy and France, yeah. Because I was in Italy myself in October. Where'd you guys go?
Germany.
Germany? Who was down here?
Japan, England, Croatia, Spain.
Oh, not on the same trip. You did Japan and then...
Japan separately and then everything else.
That's what I meant. You do Japan, then Croatia. Anyone travelers here? Where'd you go?
England and France.
Oh, nice. Okay, and you?
Same.
Oh, you're on the trip. We're missing a person here.
He's on his way.
Oh, he's coming. Okay. And what happened here? Anywhere?
California.
Portugal.
That's a trip.
It's a holiday hazard around here. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a trip. Where'd you go, Dave?
We were in Portugal. We were in California.
Oh, nice. Okay. So people are back on the road. Good to hear. Good to hear. And so here's the travels for next year too. Now, I got a couple of info things to tell you about this bubbly. Now, this is the first time. Well, let's first of all, let's look at the tasting sheet itself. So this is our list. I'm not going to go over all the wines. We'll just read them real quick, and I'll give you info as we get to each one. So we're in the region of Champagne, of course. We have the Ruinart, Blanc de Blanc, which in Champagne terminology, many of you may know that if a Champagne has the term Blanc de Blanc in its title, it means it's made 100% with the Chardonnay grape. And again, many of you know we have a long-time tasters here in this group, many of us. There's three main grapes that Champagne is made from: Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and another red grape called the Pinot Meunier. Those are the three main grapes that Champagnes from France can be made from. And so if a Champagne is made from 100% Chardonnay, it can be called Blanc de Blanc, which this wine is. So 100% Chardonnay. That's the wine we have here. Plus, I got a couple other things to tell you about it. But let's look down the list what we're going to have. We're going to have a white Burgundy from Chauvet-Chouet from the village of Meursault. Then we're going to have a red Burgundy, which will be just a village wine. It's called Bourgogne. But in my research of the wine, I found that this is a top-end Bourgogne that I'm excited to try. We'll talk about that one. And then the next one of the top Chateauneuf du Pape wines from the Rhone Valley, the Vieux Telegraph. That should be a treat. All the wines are a treat. But any Chateauneuf du Pape is always fun to try. And then we're going to have that next wine. I'll talk about it more when we get there. Some of you may already know the Andrew Murray is one of the Sideways wines. So, you know the movie Sideways? So some of you may know how this popped in. This wine is from the Sideways movie. What did you say? Yeah, and plus we're going to talk about that too. You were here for him. You'll tell us about it. A couple else of you, right? So you and Jonathan will tell us about that. We'll stand you up right there against the wall. You'll tell us, and then we'll shoot you. And then this next one I found interesting when we get to it. The Sky Zinfandel from Mountain Veeder in California, Napa. And then another great one. I did this research. I was salivating doing the research on these wines, saying can't wait to get here tonight. The Cosanti Brunello di Montalcino from the great 2019 vintage. So, Pietro, are you ready for that one?
We can just skip to that.
Yeah.
So go back there.
That- we'll start at the. Well, how about if we start at the bottom then? And we'll skip the port. We'll do that, and we'll start with the Cosanti, and we'll just leave a glass for you. That'll be it. Yeah, you'll see when we get to that one. And then, of course, we're going to finish off with a very nice 20-year Tawny port. So, a couple of things about this wine, this Ruinart. So, from the website of the Ruinart website, they're saying that having been founded in the year 1729, this champagne house, 1729, that Ruinart is the first established champagne house in the world. So of all the champagnes that we've drunk and enjoyed over the years, Dom Perignon, La Grande Dame, Cristal, all the great bubbly champagnes, they're saying on their website that Ruinart is the first champagne house that ever existed. So that's interesting. Let's see, did that. And it says, each of Ruinart's cuvées bears the distinctive signature of Chardonnay, which is the house's emblematic grape variety. So just as I explained and reviewed for many of you the three grapes that champagnes can be made from, Champagne, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. Oh yeah, come on over here. You're right over here. Ruinart says that they have made or they produce their wines primarily from Chardonnay, and it's the house's emblematic grape variety. So we're having a Blanc de Blanc, 100% Chardonnay, from a house who specializes or focuses on Chardonnay. So, and it works good. I like this one. What did you think of this one?
Very nice.
Very nice wine, right? So then they give you a little marketing at the end. Elegance, refinement, purity, light and distinctive taste make Ruinart a timeless modern icon. So that's that one. And then I just printed off from my own information some reviews. They have their review numbers for this wine come in 97, 94, 93. So all mid to top 90s for reviews. I won't go through each of them. And that's it. Any other thoughts on this one? The Ruinart?
I'm curious. They say that they're the oldest champagne house around. But before, have you seen the movie Widow Clicquot?
I started watching it, but I haven't finished it.
So interestingly, how she developed much of the process that's used today for.
Did you watch the whole movie?
Yeah.
That's on Netflix, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Have other people seen that movie yet? So the movie that Jonathan is saying is it just came out recently, right? But it's a made for Netflix movie.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a movie about Veuve Clicquot. That's what that is. The orange box, Veuve Clicquot. Many of you know, of course, that means the widow Clicquot in French. And so it's the wife, the young wife of the winemaker of the Clicquot Champagne House back in whatever years those were. I don't know the exact years. And I started watching the movie, but I got distracted and haven't gotten back to it yet. So did you like it?
Yeah, it was interesting, and it also showed what she developed as.
She was instrumental, right?
Yes,
in the whole industry.
The process of
And other producers
had to follow suit.
yeah, to be competitive. And yeah, she's a big benchmark person in the champagne industry. So that is true. Okay, so we get some numbers from Jan, please.
So it's $99.99 and 12.5%.
Okay, 12.5, very standard for champagne. And that's our $100 wine to start off with. And it's a treat. That's a great treat. Blanc de Blanc from the Champagne Benchmark House. of the Champagne region. So where's Brian? That's your selling point, Brian. The Ruinart. It's the Champagne house of the Champagne region.
This cheese is for the next 2 months.
Yeah, this is gonna be for the next,
These are Burgundy cheeses,
it's not burgundy cheese,
but it's Burgundy wine cheese. Cheese wine.
Which I believe, if I remember.
red or white. That's the trick.
Does that bottle fit in wine for this though?
I don't know. Let's see the bottle. Can I see the bottle, Jan? The champagne bottle back there? I don't know. What do you think? Will that fit in your fridge? I mean, you're talking a regular wine refrigerator?
Yeah.
Well, it's a little thick, right? I don't know.
Maybe the bottle is
So the cheese that I picked out to go with this white burgundy and the next one as well, the red burgundy, is a cheese from Vermont called Oma. So this is made by the Von Patch family. Sebastian and his wife Molly on their really small little farm in Wakefield. They are one of the few artisan producers that have an organic certification.
Yes.
They have the organic certification because the farm previously was a fluid milk farm. They were bottling fluid milk, and they got organically certified to sort of add some value to the price of their milk. They converted the farm to cheese when milk prices crashed. It was either that or lose the farm. So they make this cheese and 3 others on their really, really small farm. We're talking like 70 cows, maybe. And Oma is what we would call in the cheese biz a washed rind cheese. So it's got that orange, pinkish, sticky kind of rind, which is a specific bacteria. It's a cheese like similar to a kvass, not quite as runny as a kvass, but a kvass is also a washed rind cheese, which happens to be from the Burgundy region. So I felt like this would probably work really well. Obviously, I haven't tried it with these wines, but my hunch is saying it should be good. So they wash it with a little bit of brine to develop the outside of the rind, the bacteria, which kind of gives it that funk. Like there's a hint of funkiness there, but it's approachable funk. It's not off-putting funk. But it's one of our best-selling cheeses. We all really, really love it.
Now,
It's custardy and a little meaty and a little bacony, and it's got all this like nuance and flavor.
Laura, I'm curious now. Do you have any cheeses in your shop that do have an off-putting funk?
Yeah, of course. Well, it depends who you are.
And I say that.
To me, no, but there are. Us Americans are a sensitive lot.
Well, I say that because I just
Smell is not something that we.
I just read an extensive article on the Riesling grape. So those of us that know the Riesling grape know about the petrol smell.
Yep.
And this author that was writing the article said how to some people, that petrol smell, even if very minor, and some Rieslings are very
I mean,
extreme.
a lot of it's cultural, right? Like, if you go to France and things are smelly, no one's freaking out because they know it's normal.
That's their life.
And in this country, we're very sterile, so like if it's a little smelly or a lot of us are very sensitive.
Got to keep it clean.
So this is a funky cheese on training wheels.
Okay, any questions for Laura on the cheese? Okay.
Now, let me just jump in because I want to introduce a concept that I've been thinking about for a while. I've just never had the words for it. So a lot of times when I'm talking about wine, when we're talking about wine in the industry, I'll talk about what I term as these high tones, these things that sort of sit up on top of the wine, and that makes sense to you, right? That is something you can relate to. But generally, when I'm talking to folks that are customers of ours, and I'm talking about these high tones, it just doesn't have anything. It doesn't resonate because what does that mean? But what is a high tone? So I was sitting with Jen the other night. There's a wine that we were tasting. And I want to introduce it now because I don't think it shows right here in this wine. But I want people to start thinking about it when they're smelling this wine. So typically what we'll do is we'll get it moving in our glass, create a vapor cloud, and then we'll sniff the glass. Another thing that Len likes to do is this one. And this is one that he calls a nose pop, where he intensifies the aromas in there. But some wines do really well with what I call the high tones. And so if you approach the wine like you're a bit nervous about it, like you think it's going to be really vinegary, so you don't want to get a lot of it into your nose at once, and you just sort of let it rest back in your retronasal there, sometimes you will find these little almost ethereal kind of qualities to it, or marriages that work really only in that space there. So if you go through the night, I would invite everybody to take that into consideration. And in each of the lines, just sort of when you smell it, when you know that, just approach it almost a little bit nervously and very slowly, and sometimes you will pick up
Now, Patrick,
those other.
if I Google the term high tones in wine, will I find articles online about that?
I don't know the answer to that.
Because I'll have to tell you, I don't really come across that term much.
No, it was something that I just started.
The term or the concept itself? And he's just vocalizing the concept that he's feeling.
I
Oh.
find it a lot. I find it a lot when I'm trying to find single barrels of whiskey.
Ah,
These little ethereal things up in there, they show themselves only if you approach it.
and could whiskeys show them more
Yes,
than wines?
generally.
Because we know what whiskey is like. It's like a lot more smelling. As a matter of fact, whiskeys, we don't smell like wine because of the power of the alcohol.
Yeah.
And I know that when I took my trip to Scotland, I came over as a wine guy, and I stuck my nose in the first glass of Macallan, and the guy stopped me. He said, "Oh no, we don't smell like that." He said, "You've got to be so we know the whole technique."
And sometimes when we're doing class, you and I might be swirling our glass and go, I can already smell this.
Oh yeah,
A sense of it.
but not this particular wine.
Not necessarily this one, but I wanted to introduce the concept.
Well, we'll see if we could include that in the analysis. We'll learn more. So I'm not really getting a lot of nose on this wine. I'll be honest with you. But I'm saying that because we're jumping ahead to the nose because Patrick was doing the nose. Well, let's start with our 5 S's because we're going to have now 8 of the great wines of the world. So let's do what the wine people do when they have 8 great wines, or any wines, of course. Now, how's our color? Very light, right? Okay, very light color. 100% Chardonnay. And I'm going to tell you about this in a minute once we do the 5 S's. Let's do a swirl. Now, all the wines, just for Steve's benefit, because Steve now, from his days with us 15 years ago, was Mr. Alcohol, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, not necessarily drinking the alcohol, but he was always curious about what's the number. And actually, I'll tell you the truth. I think the reason that I may have included the alcohol number in all our wines is we had 2 winemakers. You remember our earliest days? I don't know if you remember those 2 guys. I don't even remember their names. We had 2 home winemakers. The 2 home winemaker guys. And as many of you know, if you do it or you know people that do, if you're a home winemaker or a home beer maker, the alcohol level is one of the primary criteria that you analyze and work with. So we had 2 home winemakers in our earliest wine classes. That's them, right. And so when I was doing the usual show and tell and just telling about the wine, they would ask every time the question with each wine, well, then what's the alcohol on this? So we'd always have to go get the bottle and find out, whereas now Jan has it on her price sheet. So how did I get here?
Talking about steam and alcohol.
Steam and alcohol. Yeah.
Mr. Alcohol.
Well, that's the end right there. That's the end right there. No, I was doing the legs. So let's see if we got any legs coming up here. Well, I was doing that because, again, as many people know, when we see the legs of the glass, which I don't see much coming down the side of the glass, that in many cases is an indication of alcohol level, because that's by the glycerin. Not many legs.
It's almost sheeted the whole.
Yeah, it's almost all sheety. Yeah, it's almost sheety. Okay,
Yeah.
now let's give it a good nose. Now this is where I said, gee, I'm not getting a lot.
I was getting some really nice toasty things, almost
Yeah.
a little bit buttery.
I got to concentrate. I was distracted by the high tones.
Yours all night.
I get a little light vanilla. Oh, did you say barrel, or what did you say you were getting? Barrel.
Toasty.
Okay, yeah. I get a little barrel action. And like Patrick said, I do this many times with the wine, most wines, especially wines that don't have really a big nose. You go like that, then you pop it to your nose real quick. Okay, I'm going to taste. You guys have all tasted already? Let me catch up. Very elegant. This has a very elegant mouthfeel. Has a growing long finish. Staying with me. Quite dry. Quite dry.
Got good acidity.
Got the acidity. And be a good food wine, actually.
Yeah,
So let me try it with the cheese. Laura, I'm going to try it with the cheese now.
it works.
It does work really well with the cheese.
Yeah, really good.
Let me try it.
Still taste the wine. Compliments, nothing weird is happening.
Cheese doesn't have much off-putting at all.
Like I said,
As you said,
training
good
wheel.
fun. Good fun.
Oh, on the finish. Get a little funk on the finish. On the cheese.
With the wine.
A good funk, yeah.
It's like really custard. It's got that custard.
It does.
Texturally, it's nice as wine.
I like the pairing. The cheese, I like it.
I want to taste the cheese.
Okay. I got a little bit of info on this wine. So this vineyard is called Domaine Chavy. What is that? Chauvet? Help me with my French, people. Chauvet. It says that this family started off with three brothers, Alain, Jean-Louis, and Philippe. And this is the phrase that caught my eye on this paragraph. All making wine in and around Pouligny-Montrachet. Yeah, that's it. You're with me with the fist pump. Because I'm a big fan, as a matter of fact, other than short of the Grand Crus of Burgundy, the village of Pouligny-Montrachet is one of my favorites of white Burgundy. So because I read that the three brothers who started this winery were making the wine in and around Pouligny-Montrachet, so that caught my eye. Are people familiar with that? This fella is, right? You know Pouligny-Montrachet? Is it your favorite? One of your favorite white Burgundies?
Although last year introduced us to Croissant one, just say, which I burned.
Chassagne-Montrachet, right? Yeah, we had that. That was good too, but I prefer the Pouligny. I mean, they're both good, but I like Pouligny. So then this chateau now is being run by the son of one of these three brothers, Romeric, and so that's who's running the winery, Romeric Chavey, and gives a little. Oh, this is what I wanted to say. We've got the organic. Everything is organic with minimal use of sprays. So good Burgundy wine, good producer. And then just one little other blurb I saw. Okay, here's the text sheet on this wine for those that are interested, Susan. Natural yeast fermentation, which means they do not inoculate with any yeast. They just use the natural bloom that's on the skins of the grapes, natural yeast fermentation. And then it's aged 20% in new oak and 80% in 1 to 3 year oak barrels. Now, this is the criteria that gives Burgundy Chardonnay wines the great difference, and in our opinion, the better difference than the California guys who used to, and many still do, age in 100% new oak. So they don't have that. So they've got only 20% in new oak and 80% in 1 to 3 year old barrels. So that's why you get very little oak. So that's our first white Burgundy with the cheese. I didn't hear you. Oh, yeah, we're going to get there. Let me just finish if there's any other thoughts. So what do you think about this wine?
I love it. Yeah.
It's a good food wine. Well balanced, like we said, the descriptors that we had. It would be great with a lot of holiday fare. Okay.
It's a nice temperature too. It's not too cold. So you're really able to enjoy.
Did we have that in the fridge, or
We did have it in the fridge, came out about 20 minutes or half.
so it's just been warming up? Yeah. Okay.
A little bit closer to silver temperature.
Okay, we got the numbers. Jan, please.
$134.99.
How much?
Yeah, 135.
Okay.
But the alcohol on the bottle says 12 to 14%.
Well, that's a bit range, right?
Yeah, but I've never really seen that a lot.
I've never seen it.
That would say 12 to
So you think, Jonathan, that sheeting is at the high end of that alcohol? You saw the sheeting on the whole,
It wasn't streaking. It was just a sheet of glycerin.
so that could be 14%. It didn't feel like 14%.
At least not yet.
Maybe a second, maybe another glass.
I haven't seen that either, and my guess is that
Yeah, that's what they say.
Okay, before you taste this, I'm gonna prepare you. I'm gonna influence your tasting. You ready? And we learned this once before, but it just reminded me when I read this, and Patrick knows this. So this is Villain, Chateau Villain, and the proprietor, whose name is Aubert de Villain. And I'm just going to read you what it says here from the first paragraph on the website, just as FYI to prepare you what you're going to be in store for. Aubert de Villain deserves more than just the praise he receives. He is a reluctant hero, an unlikely trait in a man of such esteem and intellect. He is heir to one of the most enviable wine legacies of all time, Domaine de la Romanée-Conti. He assumed his role in the 1960s as co-director of DRC. So the owner and winemaker for this particular wine is a previous director of the Domaine de la Romanée-Conti, which many of us, all of us know, is the premier Burgundy house of all. So that's just to give you a heads up for the person involved with the management and actual production of this wine. And then I got some more info too, but I wanted to just to prepare you. I'll tell you, I like this color. This is the color of Burgundy. So this is the Burgundy color. And I see the meniscus is just lightening up just a little bit. So I'm expecting some very good concentration on this. And let's give it a swirl. Check the legs. What do you think, Jonathan? What are we getting down there? Getting some legs. I'm getting legs. Okay, let's give it a smell. Wow, that is gorgeous.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Wow.
so I think
This has got the black raspberry thing going on. This is like black raspberry ice cream. And what else were you saying?
well, two things. One is that when we opened this, it was not showing like this at all.
At 5 o'clock?
Yeah, it was not showing like this.
So this is almost 3 hours later?
And we decanted, not for a long time, it's been open for a while. The other thing is all the three different techniques that we were talking about make a difference in here. If we do what I was talking about, I get this sort of earthy mushroomy thing.
Oh, yeah.
Just on that, that
Oh, no.
high tone thing.
There's a whole plethora of aromas going on. Black raspberry. Black raspberry was the first thing that I got.
Yes, and not just from giving us a nose, and then there you go, do this, and that'll really
So
show those fruits.
so now I pick up the earth notes.
Yeah, and I mean, it just jumps out of the glass.
This got fantastic nose. What do you think?
The nose is phenomenal.
The nose is great.
Alcohol kind of overpowers.
The alcohol does? I haven't tasted it yet. So when you did the legs, did you see a lot of legs? So indicating alcohol, yeah. All right, let me give it a taste.
Cheese.
It's all black fruits. Black raspberry, black fruits. Still got some tannins going on. What's our vintage here? 22. Oh,
Really soft.
it's a baby, so showing still the tannins. So of course, if you have this with the appropriate meal, those tannins will just get softened up
With cheese, yeah.
with the cheese.
With the cheese and soft cheese.
Yeah, and it's Italian.
So this cheese is making it, Laura.
I want to try it.
The nose, the finish, cheese.
I know you can't do that. But you could. Oh, okay. Because. Oh, all right. Yeah.
Boy, that's nice wine. The mouthfeel. The cheese softens it out so much, turns it into like silky on your palate. Yeah. You got to have a hunk of this cheese with this wine.
It makes it, I mean, it didn't say before.
Was not with the white.
I'm gonna carve off that.
So Len, if you're going to decant wine, sometimes I'll do it from like say 12 in the afternoon.
So if you
We
have
don't
it
pour
with
it till
the
8. Is
cheese,
that too
Laura and I
long?
was just
What's a
talking
good time?
about this.
We're
To have this,
1 to 3 hours, depending on most wines. But depending on the wine, you could go that long. As a matter of fact,
asparagus and cabbage.
sometimes I don't do it so much, but when I read reviews of wines, the reviewer will say how they tasted a wine in the evening and may have decanted it for an hour or two. And they tasted it, and then they put the bottle on the counter for the night. And then tasted it like the next day, like almost 12, 18, 24 hours later. And they said it was showing beautifully. So it actually blossomed, exploded, like in a time frame much longer than just an hour or two. So because you did it from 12 to 8, depending on the wine, I'm not surprised that it didn't harm it at all. And you said it made it better, right?
Oh, yeah.
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 And like I said, some reviewers I read of wines that intentionally leave it open overnight, depending how it showed during the tasting, to see how it develops. And very briefly, I went to a tasting once where we had 5 bottles of the exact same wine, and then the moderator of the tasting, conductor of the tasting, had it set up so that we tasted that same wine from 5 different bottles, from having been open for like 1 hour, 3 hours, 8 hours, 18 hours, and 24 hours. So he opened 1 or 2 bottles like the day before, kept them open at his house, and then brought him to the tasting with a couple of closed bottles that he would only open the 1 hour closed bottle. He opened the 3 hour one, like maybe back at his house. So, and he had each label marked, so he knew exactly what we were tasting: 1 hour, 3, 8, 12, 24 hours. And the goal of that tasting was to exactly see and experience how a wine changes being open for those different hours, and it did change.
Who was the guy that said that came as one of the speakers here? Said that for every day that you open a wine, if the next day it's better, the next day it's better, the next day it's better. That's really how long you would have been able to have kept it, or could have kept it in your cellar.
Yeah. Who did? Bill. Oh, Bill. She's saying Bill Soroka. The guy was Bill Soroka. Yeah. Yeah. So it's amazing what breathing does. So, let me finish this.
Yeah.
I like this wine.
Pay attention on the finish. Look for blueberry. It comes late. So look for blueberry on it. Because it does come. Brian.
So you're saying what? William had this for Thanksgiving? What did you say about William?
Recommendation in our newsletter.
Oh.
Recommendation.
Oh. I didn't get that part. Yeah, what's not to recommend on this wine?
But it takes time to get to this one.
But
If you buy this and you take it home, don't look at it. Don't look for this. When you fill the fridge. You won't find it.
At least an hour or two.
It's taken a couple hours. 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock. We gave it about 15 minutes or so in the decanter. We really kept it moving. Got as much air in as we could. Put it back in. Left the bottle open, obviously, and then I had another hour and a half.
and even though it's so young and it did show tannin at first, when you have the cheese, the wine turns into silky. Did you say that you? Oh, it carries it well. Oh, I got you. It is for. Oh no, not yet.
No? Okay.
Now I turn my page. And I see something else I want to tell you. Now this is interesting, though. Well, everything I tell you, I hope is interesting. Don't laugh, Pietro. The fact I got a fact. It's a factoid. I have a factoid here, and it caught my attention. No, I got rid of that in Italy. Well, we were talking about traveling. I was in Italy in early October. Caught a bad respiratory viral bug, ruined my whole vacation. But we won't go there. I'm back. I'm back now. Okay, so the thing that I read on their website is that this wine is called La Fortune. It isn't on our tasting sheet, but the wine has a little subtitle called La Fortune, the fortune. So on their website, it says La Fortune is a parcel with exceptional terroir for Pinot Noir. So let me show you. See, right? So this is called Domaine de Villaine, the producer. And then it says Bourgogne of the Côte Chalonnais, which is the sub-region within Burgundy that it's made, the Côte Chalonnais. And then under here it says La Fortune. So you know how many wines have a little proprietary name? So this is the La Fortune. And on their website it says how this is made from an exceptional terroir for Pinot Noir, which is located in the heart of the Bouzeron, which is primarily aligoté country. Aligoté. So for those that may not know, whenever, especially in our 101 class, when I'm teaching about Burgundy, I always stress, and Patrick does to his customers and Brian, that when you're in Burgundy, there's two grapes. There's white wine, 100% Chardonnay, and there's red wine.
Starts to get tricky when pairing with cheese, which is why the lighter reds and white tends to work better with cheese because one thing that Shannon hates is salt. Instant cheese naturally has salt, so they tend to fight. So finding a good pairing for bolder reds is a little trickier. But it can be done if you look at sheep's milk cheeses. And the reason that is because sheep's milk cheeses have higher fat. And one thing that bolder, more tannic red wines do like is that. So just like, the idea of a juicy steak with a big bold red works really well. It's because of that fat. So sheep's milk cheese. So this is a sheep's milk cheese from Vermont called Verano. They make it, it's called Verano, which means summer in Spanish. They make it only in the summer when their sheep are pastured on their farm. It's Vermont Shepherd's is the farm. The oldest registered sheep dairy in America. It's been in the same family for maybe not quite 100 years, but getting towards 100 years. And they're in Putney, Vermont. It's made in the style of a French cheese called Osso Orati, which is a Basque cheese.
That's good cheese.
That's been around for a really, really long time. The Basque people in the sort of southern part of France and northern part of Spain are shepherds by trade. And David Major, the owner of and cheesemaker at Vermont Shepherd, when he decided a long time ago to make cheese, he went and lived with the Basque people and learned how to make that style of cheese. And they really only make this cheese and another cheese they call Invierno, which they make in the winter, which is sheep's milk mixed with a little cow's milk. The sheep don't really get much milk in the winter, if any at all. They have some that they sort of train into milking in the winter. But this is the Verano. It's a highly seasonal cheese, so we tend to not, it's sort of they make them all summer. They go into their cave on the property. They have a really cool property where the cave is built into a hillside, all these beautiful little shelves, and all the cheese is aging in this little bunker. And they sell their cheese till it's gone, which usually lasts until about April, May, and then we started seeing like, oh, we don't have any more Verano, and we might pull some here instead. Then so there's a couple months gap, and usually like sort of late July, the new season deals get released. So these are the 2024 cheeses, and I have to say I think they're some of the best they've ever made, at least in my 15 years of buying it from them. It's just really delicious. It's balanced. It's also made with raw milk, so like a good Osso Orati. Osso Orati can be made with pasteurized, and most of the export Osso Orati is pasteurized. We of course have a raw milk one, because that's what we do here. But this is, I think, an incredible example of artisan, farm-made, raw milk American cheese. It should be very delicious to next year.
Well, that Osso Orati is a great wine. Great cheese.
Yes.
I've had it.
Oh no. And these are sheep.
This is this.
Yeah. I might add, can I add one more thing?
Oh, yeah.
About the cheese?
Yeah.
So this is, this kind of cheese made on this scale is kind of why we are here, to be honest. Because, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, they can sell the cheese that's made on a large scale and whatever. That's what they do. And if there are not shops like ours and customers like ours, places like Vermont Shepherd will cease to exist. So in 15 years, I've watched a lot of cheese go extinct from small farms, literally because people don't buy it. So this is why it's not just important to support independent retail this holiday season. You're also supporting small farmers, handmade cheese, artisan producers. This is like food at its peak. This is the food that we all come back from Italy, France, and Spain and rave about, right? We say, oh, the food's so much better in Italy. It's so much better in France. We have the food here, people. We have it here. You just need to shop differently and consciously. So that's my pitch for the retail season.
It sounds like the Arby commercial. We have the beef. We have the cheese.
And we will only have Cracker Barrel, and it will be fat.
Very sad.
Okay, so we're on View Telegraph, which means the old telegraph. We're in the region of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. So again, if you imagine the map of France, the Rhone Valley, keep going south on the Rhone Valley, and you come to the lower part of the Rhone Valley, where you've got Côte de Rhône, Côte de Ventoux, and Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and several other regions. And the thing that's always interesting whenever we do Châteauneuf-du-Pape is we review and refresh that Châteauneuf-du-Pape can be made from up to 13 different grapes, of which several of them are white grapes. And this one, I'll give you now right up front. So the blend on this wine is Grenache, 65%, Mourvedre, 15%, Syrah, 15%, and then Sanso, Claret, and several other grapes, they just say several other, 5%. So I hope if we add all of that up, 30 comes to 100. So those are the grapes in this wine, Châteauneuf-du-Pape.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, we got Grenache is 65%, Mourvedre is 15, Syrah is 15. Okay, now this is the wine. For those of you that remember the movie Sideways, this is one of the wines that was in Sideways that was more than just a label shot. Like, remember their dinner, the first dinner they had, the four of them, was the label shots as they had like a different bottle with each course. So this is the wine that when they went back to the house after their first dinner, and they were rating Sandra Oh, the actress Sandra Oh. I don't know what her character's name was in the movie. And where Miles and his date go to the back room and raid her wine cellar. So, what's her name, the actress? You know the one I mean, the blonde? Well, you know. Madsen, Virginia Madsen, right. Okay, so Virginia Madsen and Miles are raiding the wine cellar, and she's pulling out bottles and holding up the labels, and he's like, yeah, no, thumbs up, thumbs down, until finally she pulls out a bottle of this one. And she pulls out the bottle, and he sees it right away and recognizes the label and goes, and his eyes light up, and he goes, oh, Andrew Murray. And he goes, oh, that's great. So they open that and they drink that on the back porch together. Now, John, you said you were here, among other people here, for the Andrew Murray tasting. And Patrick was here, right? So what happened was, when was that? Back in June? It was this year, right?
Yeah.
Earlier this year.
Yeah, June sounds about right.
Yeah. So Andrew Murray is the owner winemaker of the Andrew Murray Winery. And I guess he was doing a tour. And he came to Harry's, and they set him up here.
They did a lot of the film.
The Sideways movie
Movies.
were filmed in his vineyard. Okay, yeah. Well, they did a lot of filming. So this is one of the wines that you tasted there, right? With the Andrew Murray. So let's give it our. Now this wine is 92% Syrah and 8% of the white grape Viognier, which is very similar. This is what Andrew Murray was going for when he bought this plot, this vineyard, this winery. This vineyard was already pre-planted to what's called in the trade a field mix, where it has grapes of different types in the same vineyard. So his winery he bought had a vineyard which was already planted to 92% Syrah and 8% Viognier. So when he was trying to decide what to do with it, should he rip it all out, replant, he decided to leave it as it is, which is the same way that the great wine of the northern Rhone Valley above Châteauneuf-du-Pape, called the Côte Rôtie, is made with a blend of mostly the red Syrah grape and a small percentage of the white Viognier grape. So he already had a field mix blend vineyard of 92.8 red to white. So he just left it that way and has been making the roasted slope, which is the translation of Côte Rôtie. Côte Rôtie in French, the name of the AOC, the region, is called translates to roasted slope. So he translated that and called his wine the roasted slope. So look at the color. We got the Syrah going on in here. Notice the deep color right in the center, which goes almost all the way out to the meniscus and barely thins out at all at the edge. So if we swirl it, see how our legs are doing, starting to come down. So I suspect this is going to be at the high end of the alcohol level. We know Syrah, of course. Now give it a smell. And you got a little bit of that roasted nose on there almost. Deep fruit, dark fruit, black fruit, spicy notes, little touch of vanilla, of course, barrel aging. Very nice nose. Do you guys remember the nose? Is this what it was like at the tasting, or you don't remember? Was it this? Was it this vintage, the 2021?
I think it was, but I'm not positive.
Okay.
I always love, every year I love this.
Do you? I've never really had this wine that much.
Really?
No.
This one I really like. And if you do what I was talking about, I see you doing it, that sort of really, approach it really softly. I get more waxy, oily sort of stuff that,
Is that a high tone?
yeah.
I'm trying. No, I gotta Google it.
What I would describe, you can Google it all you want. It's a term that I started talking about because that for me is what sits on top.
Oh, now how about if I Google it, Patrick's term high tone? Will that?
That could be scary.
Why do we still have this guy?
If you go high tones, you're gonna get a band. You're gonna get a band.
Yeah.
There's a band named that?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, let's give it a taste. Let's give it a slurp and slosh.
Yeah.
That's a big boy. That's a big boy wine. Full-bodied, rich. So, Pat, we're just saying that this wine, this is one of our 100-point wines. I don't know if we had one earlier, but this wine here gets 100 points from 2 reviewers from the great British wine magazine Decanter. Gets 100 points from Decanter. 100 points for the 19 Cosanti, and then also 100 points from a reviewer called Karen O'Keefe. I forget who she writes for. 100 points from her, and then Venice, who is 96 points. So yeah, big numbers on this one. And I'll tell you, it's the 19, great vintage. So it's 5 years old. But it's drinking beautifully now. I mean, this is a wine that you could drink and enjoy right now, but will only get much, much better in the cellar. So.
And this one I know is, it's jumping out of the glass. But I've got it down here. I can get those chocolatey tones. Let's spend a little bit of time doing what I was talking about earlier.
Let's say it.
We're just trying to find that stuff right up on top.
Yeah.
Because those are the ones those are the tones I can't put a word to. It's so good. I love the way stuff. Pouring this particular wine, and that is in the world of wine, if you want to get a really good quality wine, you're going to pay for it. That's sort of how it works. The ones that have that bit of magic in them typically start at around $100 or $1,000 or whatever it is. We've tasted some great wines tonight, have had an opportunity, but this is one of those exceptions in the world of wine. This particular bottle just picked up number 9 on Spectator's Top 100 list. Number 9, and it comes in less than $40. All right, so we'll let the cat out of the bag on this one. Do pay attention to the nose on this one. For me, I love the really high tone stuff. Again, with the high tone stuff, you get it, right? There's this like marriage of road tar and licorice. Yeah, road tar and licorice, and it just, if you take it too much in at once, your brain almost doesn't pay attention to it. But if you just sort of nose it a little bit, you'll start to get those chocolate will come into here, cherries, roses, yeah, tires, road tire, those types of things, all in a really beautiful way. They come into here. It's $37.99, and from a producer that through the years we have really liked in certain vintages, and we've been a little bit indifferent in other vintages about them. But they've got a great winemaker, and what he does the way that he likes to present his wines. Do keep it moving in your glass, but I will tell you, the little things in here, those really ethereal things that you'll find in this wine, you'll spin them right out of your glass. I don't know why it is with this wine. Typically, when you open a wine and you get it moving in your glass, it opens and opens and opens. But these little things that we're talking about, the road tar, the licoricey sort of stuff, the all changes out and gets a little bit more homogenized in the wine as the evening goes by. Not in a bad way, but I just don't get that stuff that plays with it. No, don't drink it quickly, but enjoy for a few minutes those little ethereal tones that sit up on top of it. It's from northern Italy. It's from I don't ever know how to say this. Yeah, northern Vajra, Vajre, or A. Where is it? Where's the bottle? You have them? You didn't touch that?
Oh, sorry.
No, no worries. Okay. So it's the Albi by GD. You tell me how to say it. But the Albi.
Summertime, when the cows were actually grazing on grass. In the winter, they go into barns and they eat dried, hay. And the milk will be a little different. So winter Stilton tastes different than summer Stilton. The best Stilton of the year is Christmas Stilton. So these are the first wheels of that. These were produced in early June. Our next round that's coming, I think we have 6 more truckles. They call them 17-pound truckles coming for the holidays. Were made in July, which I'm really looking forward to. They tend to be just a little bit more grassy and more complex. So enjoy it with the port. It is the classic pairing. Obviously, the sweet blue cheese or the sweet wine paired with the salty blue cheese, just like sing.
You got a question?
Yes.
Am I crazy? Last year you gave us a raw milk Stilton.
Yes.
That's not this.
That is not this. So yes, he's asking about the raw milk Stilton. So we get very few wheels of a cheese called Stilton, which is Stilton before 2006 when the producers, long story short, there was a outbreak of foodborne illness in the UK. Stilton got blamed. Later they found out it wasn't actually Stilton that caused it, but the media is pretty vicious in Britain. And the Stilton producers
Not in the
were,
US at all, it's very.
yeah. They make us look pretty mild, actually.
Yeah, they do.
So they got rigged through the coals, and the 7 Stilton producers were really afraid that their cheese sales would be so damaged that they banded together and they decided that the rules of production now would include pasteurizing the milk. So prior to 2006, most Stilton was made with raw milk, which is much tastier, complex. Mm-hmm. Though Colson Bassett still does an amazing job. I mean, no one's complaining about the fact that this is pasteurized. Yeah, Randolph Hodgson, who owns Neal's Yard Dairy, partnered up with this guy Joe, who I've become very friendly with.
Go see Joe.
Joe is actually an American. He went to Cornell University, grew up in Ann Arbor, he grew up in Syracuse, New York. And he was making cheese in the Netherlands, and then he bumped around Europe, and he landed in the UK as a cheesemaker. And as Joe tells it, Randolph got him drunk in a pub and convinced him to go into business with him and make the original recipe of Stilton, which is raw milk. So there's only one raw milk Stilton made, and they can't use the name because it's raw, and the rules now say it has to be pasteurized. Super complicated stupidity. But anyway, Joe at Stilton Dairy makes Stilton, which we do have a little bit left tonight. We don't get a lot of it. It's just smaller production and harder to come by. But funny story, one last thing, is I got on our website, I have the Stilton on our website. We do ship cheese all around the country. And I also have, when we have Stilton, I put that up on the website for sale, and we ship that around the country. And I got a really funny email last week from the Stilton Association telling me to cease and desist. In my description of Stilton, I referred to it as a raw milk Stilton, and they didn't like that. So Joe has been trying to get Stilton as an addition to the PDO, the protected designation of origin, and he keeps failing. He's not, they won't let him in. So I guess my description of the cheese, the Stilton Association is annoyed by that, and they sent me. I've gotten 2 emails so far. I've ignored them. I'm gonna have to change it because I don't need a lawyer. It's not worth that. But it was really funny. I emailed my rep, Yvonne, who my Neal's Yard contact, and I'm like, hey, I got this really funny note from the Stilton Association asking me to, take down my description or change my description. And she was laughing. She was like, oh my God, that means you've hit the big time. And I'm like, okay, we've hit the big time. So then I texted Joe, because Joe and I are friends now. I spent a week with him in England, and he's like, I'm so proud of you. And then when I saw Joe at the American Cheese Conference last year, he had hats, which I should have worn tonight, that said, it was a red hat that said, "Make Stilton great again."
Change it.
Make Stilton raw again.
Yeah. Change it to RAH and say it's a college football season cheer.
Yeah, he was walking around. Everyone was like, "What is that hat?" Cheese industry is kind of a liberal kind of place.
Okay, 20 years in the barrels. Not exactly 20. It's a blend. It's an average of 20. So when you see this advertised ports of 10, 20, 30, 40 years, it doesn't mean they start the clock and they stop it at 10 or stop it at 20. They've got barrels of port aging of all different years. And the expert port tasters, the winemakers at the port houses, have a memory, a taste memory, that they're able to tell what different numbers of 20 years should be. So what they do is they just take batches and they sit in the lab and mix them together. And when they get the blend that says, yes, this is a 10-year, and then they keep the internal notes, of course, of what years they are. And same thing now. So we have an average of 20 years here. And we got that beautiful kind of chestnut color. Beautiful color. Yeah. And how about the nose? You've been smelling this? Yep. Candy, honey, molasses, little raisin, all that good 20 port stuff. '20 is my favorite of the main 4 years. And now they have more than 40s now, too. I think I've got a 50 I read. 10s, what do you have?
I'm trying to remember whose 20 it is, but I've got a 20.
Oh, you have a bottle you're sitting on? Well, that'll last forever. Yeah. This one's good.
Yeah.
Let me get my Stilton. Do we have any Stilton left?
Yes.
Let me grab a piece, please. Oh, let me get a piece of bread. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is $49.99 and 20% alcohol.
So when we were at the CIA,
Mhm.
we were doing a wine tasting.
Mhm.
They put two ports next to each other. One was a lot younger than the 20 year old. And then he had a steak potato chip. And you eat it, the salt turned the taste to taste just like the instant.
Oh, yeah?
Made the 10
$49.99
So folks, this one is $49.99
and 20% alcohol.
and 20% alcohol for those that are in.
Oh, wait a minute. We got to do our final toast. Let's raise our glass. So, to another wonderful night of high-end wine tasting at Harry's. Great to see everyone.
Cheers, all. Thank you for joining us.